Welcome back to another episode of Full Retard. Today we have more entitled parent stories. First up, my mother told me that my depression is denying her the right to be entertained and not fulfilling the reasons she had by suicidal but ambitious. My mother's statement this evening further solidified my decision to never be a parent. I fed you, clothed you, put you in school. I did all that so that you can be depressed and not keep me company when I want. I've been depressed for years due to health issues, mostly chronic eczema, and I've been very withdrawn. Prefer to be alone most of the time and don't have energy to socialize. Only recently, I've decided to enroll in university and make a life for myself, even against my deep insecurities of being seen in public. Every day is a mental battle, but I bother no one. I don't release my anger on anyone and use solitude to cope. Lo and behold, my mother tonight started drama and told me that the reason she had me and my siblings was to entertain her, that we were given by God to her to please her. We were her gifts from the Lord, literally her word. My siblings are estranged from her except for me due to circumstances. They cut all ties with her. That tells you something. Tells you she's exhausting to be around. I did something incredibly risky. I usually say that it's their fault for being estranged, but today I said that you're a big reason for my siblings cut you off. You're hard-headed, very dismissive of other people's views, and think everything everyone does has to be about you. She continued ranting and said that my depression is denying her happiness of the task I was born to do in her eyes. The fact that I'm even going to school despite my misery isn't enough. That I get out of bed at all isn't hard enough. Now I'm a villain for torturing her for not being communicative and entertaining? Well, this could have been avoided if she decided to focus on her own life and being productive instead of reproducing human beings to her gestures. Even though most parents don't say it, I'm sure they have kids for similar reasons, all for them. Whenever I tell her to stop her behavior, she says, "Wait until you have your own kids and tell them what to do." She views children as property, not as individuals. And here's the kicker. She often brings up me being a parent and giving her grandkids and gets offended with that I prefer to be child-free. She asks me, "Why do you not want kids?" I stare in bewilderment. Next up, entitled mother thinks her kid shouldn't have to pick up after their dog, relents, and then steals from us by Motherhood Established 2017. So this happened at the last apartment complex I lived in. Sorry it's so long. My significant other and I were renting the ground floor unit at a really nice apartment complex. I wouldn't say it was a luxury apartment or anything, but our ground floor unit had a little patio off the back that led out into a really nice courtyard area with hammocks, a walking path, outdoor fireplace and seating area, etc. A lot of people walk their dogs out there or let their kids play out in the grass, including us. We have a 1-year-old cane Corso. We got her when we'd been living in the unit for about 2.5 months, and she was only 8 weeks at the time. She's a really good dog, and we trained her well. We could let her out to go potty, and she'd come right back, even if there were distractions or people or dogs out. We always stood on the patio and watched her anyways, because our pet agreement said we couldn't leave our dog unattended. Then we'd go pick up her poop right away if she pooped. Also part of the pet agreement, as I'm sure is standard at most apartment complexes, we kept a small step trash can outside specifically for her poop bags because we didn't want to throw them away inside, and the only outside trash cans were on the other side of the building, which I agree is super dumb. It really was a small trash can, like the kind you'd tuck into the bathroom between the toilet and the wall. We also had our poop bags hanging on our patio door handle for easy access so we didn't have to hunt for them every time we needed them. Entitled mom and her entitled kid moved in on the ground floor in our building, 2 units down. No big. Ran into her one day carrying on groceries, and my significant other helped hold the door open for her. She seemed kind of Karen-ish, but was polite, and her kid, probably 10 to 11 years old, didn't look up from his phone. Whatever, that's pretty typical of kids these days. They also had a dog, a little black and white fluffy thing, super cute, but not trained well. Don't know what kind of dog, but it was much smaller than our already giant puppy. After about 2 weeks or so, we realized that there were dog turds in the grass right off our patio. We found out the hard way because my boyfriend stepped in it the first time. Luckily, he wasn't barefoot. They were clearly not our dog's turds, as 1, we always picked up her poop right after she went, and 2, they were very obviously from a small dog, not our 70-pound puppy. We'd been in the apartment about 78 months at this point and had never had an issue with this, so we figured it was entitled mom's little dog. I wrote her a polite note that basically was like, "Hey neighbor, We noticed that some of your dog's poops aren't being picked up and are right off our patio. Per the pet agreement we all have to sign, we all need to be picking up our own dog's poop each time they go. I'm sure it was an accident and you just didn't notice, so if you can make sure to do that going forward, we'd appreciate it. Your neighbors in unit number such and such. She wasn't home, so I slipped it under the door and went back to my apartment. A couple hours later, entitled mom is banging on my door and gets really angry with me, insists that it couldn't have been her dog. How dare I assume? I felt really bad and I apologized immediately, said I didn't mean to offend her and it must have been someone else. She told me never to bother her with crap like this again and stormed off. I was like, okay. Not 3 days later, I was sitting on my patio with a book enjoying the cool weather when I see their little dog run out of their back door, no one with it, and it comes over to me. I said hello to the pup because I love pup, and then it took a shit right off my patio. Ran back home and scratched the door to be let in. I saw entitled kids slide the door open enough to let the dog in and then closed it, again without coming outside to pick up the poop. I was annoyed because here I saw it with my own eyes that it was their dog and no one was even watching it when it was outside. So I grabbed a poop bag, picked up the poop, wrote another less polite note about entitled mom's kid neglecting to watch the dog or come to check if it had pooped or pick it up after it, and dropped the poop bag in the note on their patio right by the door. Then went back to my read. Entitled mom was quicker to come by this time and stomped right up to me, waving the note around, then started that her kid was just a kid and probably just forgot to check. I said I didn't care. Her kid was old enough to stand outside for 3 minutes and come up, pick the dog's poop. She said, well, there's no poop bag or trash cans on this side of the building, and she didn't feel comfortable making her kid walk all the way around the building for that. The next part is my own fault. In hindsight, I suggested she put a trash can like mine on her patio and leave their own poop bags handy like we do for our dog. She eyed our stuff, huffed some more, rolled her eyes, refused to do anything about the poop, and walked off. At this point, I was super annoyed. I stocked my patio door for the next couple days as much as I could, just waiting. And sure enough, on day 2 in the evening when I was about to give up, I see the puppy run outside towards my patio. I whipped out my phone, took some pictures of the dog outside alone, not allowed, and the dog pooping, and then took another phone an hour later of the poop, still there, and time-stamped all of them. Then I sent an email to the apartment office people who were always pretty nice, and they responded quickly. They would give entitled mom a warning about it. And sure enough, entitled mom comes back again to get mad and yell at me about how petty I was to report them to the office, and now they had a $150 fine for not picking up their dog poop. It's worth noting that these fines were rare. Poo prints were not used at this complex. In order for the office to find someone for dog poop, they had to have proof it was that specific tenant's dog's poop, and then it wasn't picked up. Hence the photos I'd taken and time-stamped. I told her that I had tried to be nice about it with her twice before it was her own fault at their point for not abiding by the terms of the pet agreement we all had to sign, everyone who had a dog at least. She went off about how she's a single mom and she works during the day and her precious baby can't be expected to pick up after their dog. I told her that a 10 or 11-year-old was plenty old enough to pick up after a dog, and if they weren't responsible enough, then maybe the kid shouldn't be letting the dog out at all, and she should be the one to do it, and maybe whoever is home with him should be looking after it. She got angry, told me I had no idea how to be a single mom, that her mom stays with him during the day and shouldn't be expected look after her kid and her dog, and she stomped off again. I expected to hear more about it, but I did. The ironic part is 1 a.m. I am a single mom. My kid isn't my significant other's, and I raised him alone for 2.5 years before I met my significant other. So yes, I do know how hard it is, and I live 1,000 miles from my closest family, so I never even had the luxury of being able to have my mom watch my kid. Over the next couple of weeks, we didn't find any more dog turds off our patio, but we did notice our poop bags were depleting and our trash cans filling up way more quickly than usual. I had my suspicions and wanted to test it. We had recently bought some small security cameras for inside of our apartment for different reasons, and I had my boyfriend set one up outside on the patio. We faced it where we could see our door and trash can, but didn't point to the rest of the courtyard or other people's units. We respect privacy around here. Sure enough, for the same evening my boyfriend set it up, I see entitled kid walk onto our patio, take a poop bag, walk out of frame, and then come back to throw it in our trash can. Okay, now I'm peed, but also not trying to fight this lady or her kid, so I moved the poop bags to the inside door handle. It's a glass door, so you can still see them, but we always lock our sliding door. Next morning, I hear someone knocking on the back patio door, and I go to see entitled kid standing there looking annoyed. I didn't open the door. I just spoke loudly enough to ask what did he need. He demanded a poop bag for his dog's poop. I said, I'm sorry, but these are our poop bags for our dog, and they weren't free for anyone else to use. The apartment provides poop bags and a dispenser near the trash can on the other side of the building. Kid started demanding a poop bag, saying his mom told me he could use ours, slapping his hands on the glass a few times, trying to scare me. Yes, I'm so terrified of a 10-year-old boy. And finally screaming at me that he's telling his mother on me. I said, fine, go ahead. I'll tell her the same thing. Sure enough, a few minutes later, entitled mom is standing on my patio, also demanding a poop bag for her dog's poop. I denied her a bag and asked her to please step off my patio as she was making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. My significant other wasn't home. She told me I was a bratty child. I'm 24, and she demanded I let her use my poop bags as I had already told her she could before. I said no. I told you to get some yourself and do what I do. Keep them close by and put your own trash can on your own patio, not use the bags I buy with my own money for my own dog and then fill up my tiny trash can with your dog's poop. I pointed out she could use a plastic shopping bag if she didn't want to buy her own poop bags, or she could use the bags the complex provided on the other side of the building. She kept going off on me, and I finally told her if she didn't leave my patio, I'd call the police as she was harassing me. The apartment office was closed on Sundays, and of course it was Sunday. She acted like she was going to call my bluff, but then my boyfriend got home and walked up behind me to ask what was going on, and she ended up dragging her kid away, again leaving the poop in the grass off my patio. So once she was gone, I took another time-stamped picture of the dog poop, downloaded the footage from my security camera of her kids stealing my poop bags and throwing them in my trash can, and the footage from them that morning yelling at me and demanding my bags, and by denying them, and emailed all of that to the apartment management. I told them that she made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable in my own home, that she and her child felt entitled to come onto my patio and take my belongings. I also went outside, picked up her dog's poop, looked in the trash can on the patio, and pulled up the bags with her dog's poop. They were significantly smaller than my dog's poops, so I'm sure any dog owner could tell the difference in poops of a 12-pound dog versus a 70-pound dog. I went and opened all the bags and dumped the poop straight on her patio right outside the door. On Monday, I heard back from the office lady who said she would take care of it. By Friday, there was a moving truck, and entitled mother and her entitled kid were moving out. Pretty sure they were evicted. After talking to some of other much friendlier neighbors, it turns out we weren't the only ones who had been complaining about her. They had only lived in the complex for like 2 to 3 months before they made so many enemies they were kicked out. Sometimes I think I should feel bad for playing a part in them getting evicted, but honestly, I can't bring myself to feel guilty about it. Not my fault she was a lazy, entitled bee who couldn't even be asked to get a shopping bag to pick up her dog's crap. I never heard from her about the turds I dropped on her patio, but I like to think she stepped in them without looking and knew better than to come complain to me about it. Sorry, not sorry. Also, I'm sure they were given more than a week to vacate, as those are the tenancy laws here, but she packed up and left like a bat out of hello. Guess she didn't want to say somewhere she was clearly seen as an enemy. ETA, wow, thank you so much for all the awards and kind comments. I'm not great at responding to people who just know I read and appreciate all of it. Sometimes I leave my mom on read for like 2 days, so don't take it personal. Finally, entitled mother thinks stepmom's death should be about her by Cammie Cham. Hey, I don't know if this fits, but I was told to post this here. This happened a couple of years ago. My mom has never been a very good person, let alone a good mom, but this is the worst thing she has ever done. My stepmom was an amazing person, loving and caring. Her and my dad split up, and I moved away far, but she always messaged me to tell me she missed me and loved me. She was then diagnosed with lung cancer and died a couple months before my wedding. She always told me how excited she was to come to my wedding. I have never been so devastated in my life. I cried for weeks and traveled up for her funeral. On the day of her funeral, my mom didn't go. She didn't get along with that side of the family. I wrote a eulogy to her on Facebook to the tune of, I will miss you and thank you for helping me make the person I am today. Emphasis on the word helping. I noticed over the following 2 days, still in full state of grief, that my mom wasn't speaking to me, and when I messaged her, she would just thumbs up back to me. I finally snapped and asked her what was wrong, and she said this. Initially, I thought she was annoyed because she got a cat, and she thought we got the cat to stop her bringing her dog down. This is actually copied and pasted from the conversation. If you don't realize what you've done to me, I guess it's best I don't come to your wedding. I'm done with all 3 of you. I sent her a few more messages asking what was going on and told my brother she found out that it was the cause of the status. Basically, what she said to them was, she shit all over me and told the world that she attributes the person she is today to stepmom, and I've done nothing. Fine, I won't be part of her life anymore. Eventually, I had to call her and literally scream at her, and she eventually gave in and apologized. What I thought was a breakthrough. Next day, my mom messaged me saying she's not feeling too good. She said she took too much of her medicine and she's drank a lot of alcohol because she is so sad and felt like it might help. hold back the tears. I told her to call the doctor, and I eventually had to get my uncle to go around, only to find out she was lying and clearly just did it to try and make me feel bad for shouting at her. I have lots more stories. Let me know if you'd like to hear more.